Senator Kennedy, what do you think of Matt Gaetz as Attorney General?
Happy Thanksgiving.
I was shocked that he has been nominated.
Donald Trump's pick for Attorney General getting a cold reception from his own party. The nomination of Congressman Matt Gaetz shocked, stunned, and had Republican lawmakers gasping. But Trump may try to shield Gaetz and some of his other controversial picks from facing tough confirmation votes. In a Truth Social post, Trump wrote, "The Senate Majority Leader must agree to recess appointments," meaning the Senate would go out of session so Trump could appoint anyone he wants without a confirmation vote. And there are reports Trump's transition team is bypassing FBI background checks for some of his cabinet picks. People close to the process say they're using private companies to do the vetting instead. Now, the Constitution is pretty clear about the Senate's role here. The president shall nominate and by and with the advice of the and consent of the Senate shall appoint officers of the United States. There is a provision if the Senate happens to be in recess, but Trump is talking about something different here. The Senate purposely going on recess so he can avoid confirmation fights. Reihan, will the Senate vote on Trump's picks, or will it take a recess and a pass on at least some of the more controversial ones?
I believe there's going to be a vote, and I believe that
on every one.
Yes, I believe so. I might be wrong, but my view is that there is a large enough block of Republican senators who are very determined to make their voices heard when it comes to these appointments, and I think that we're going to hear from them.
What do you think of the president's idea? Well, just go on recess and I can do these appointments on my own and you don't have to take a tough vote.
Well, I believe there's a reason we have this process to have the advice and consent of the Senate. I think it actually strengthens the legitimacy of your cabinet and of your administration. And I think that it's a very wise process that the framers devised. And I think that he would be wise to stick with it.
There's a sharp difference of opinion among Republican senators on this issue. Take a look.
I don't think we should be circumventing the Senate's responsibilities.
The Senate should be here, do its work.
Well, I believe in recess appointments. So I was very clear. And, I think both John Cornyn and John Thune committed to recess appointments.
Lulu, do you think the Senate will give up one of its main constitutional provisions, one of its main sources of power to act as a check on any president, not just Donald Trump?
I think the problem here that Republican senators are facing is that Donald Trump is very popular in their states, some of them. And so when you hear a John Thune or others, they are really reflecting what they see to be the will of the voters in that state. And so I agree with Reihan that I think it's a terrible idea, not only because it flies in the face of the Constitution, but if you think at some point in the future when there might be a different administration, what precedent does this set for when the opposing party is in power?
So do you think that Republican senators, enough of them, will stand up to the president and say, no,
I don't think so. I think they will do what President Trump wants them to do. And I think we will see Matt Gaetz and others in the positions that he has nominated them for.
One of Trump's arguments is the other party in the Senate holds up nominations. Here's what Republicans did in 2021 with key Biden nominees. Lloyd Austin was confirmed as defense secretary 2 days after Biden took office. But for Attorney General Merrick Garland, it took 49 days. Kara, one way or another, do you think that all of Trump's picks, either through recess or vote, will get through the Senate?
Maybe not Matt Gaetz, but I think everybody else, possibly. It depends on whether that report is released and what it says. But I think Trump will get exactly what he wants, and the Senate will realize they are under his thumb. They are also unctuous toadies. Everyone's an unctuous toady.
But you think they might block Matt Gaetz?
They might block it if there's enough pressure brought to bear around that report from the House about his behavior with drugs and underage
Yeah, and of course, that's the question. This is the Ethics Committee has done an investigation and would have put it out, except Gaetz just retired from Congress. And now there's a question as to whether the House Ethics Committee will share it with the Senate. And that's not clear. Kristen, do you agree, whether it's Gaetz or Hegseth or RFK Jr., that somebody will be blocked, or do you think they all get through?
I think if somebody's going to be blocked, it's going to be Gaetz. And the reason why I pick him instead of the others is I think these senators want to get to yes on as many as possible. I don't think you're going to see a bunch of these nominees go down. And I especially don't think you'll see nominees go down on policy grounds. Yes, there are some Republicans that have grave national security concerns around Tulsi Gabbard and some of the positions she's had in the past.
I think this is a former congressman, who is appointed director of national
and who ran in the Democratic primary in 2020, I would note. And so this has been a very interesting journey. RFK Jr. has some very prominent pro-choice positions. I don't think that pro-life senators are going to use that as a reason to hold him up. I think the reason the Gaetz one is different is that it's not about policy. It is about character and fitness for the office. And I also suspect that for some of these senators, remember, some of them will not be up for office again until Donald Trump is long off into the sunset.
Or maybe not up for office again, period.
Period. And so that is why I do think the United States Senate likes to guard its power a little more jealously than the House. And so it wouldn't surprise me, actually, if one of these nominations went down. And if it's one, it's Gaetz.
Reihan, big picture. What do you think Trump's call for the Senate just to go on recess, let my nominees go through, Trump's decision that he's not going to use FBI background checks for some, we don't know who, but for some of his appointees. What do you think that says about how he plans to do business over the next 4 years?
I think that he wants to run an activist administration. I think that he wants to have wide authority, and he wants to have a team that is very ideologically aligned and very loyal. I think that that's not really in doubt. The question is whether or not he has made the right picks in every instance to ensure that he has people who are going to be effective in their roles. And part of being effective is having allies among Republicans in Congress, including some of those members of the Senate who are folks who are very jealous of their power and authority and are going to guard it ferociously.
Lulu, what do you think? These two specific things where he's basically seems to be trying to do away with some of the guardrails that have traditionally protected the country, the idea of checks and balances. The Senate advises and consents on appointments. The FBI does thorough background checks, that he wants to do away with those. What do you think that says?
What I think that says is that they're setting up a fight early because they have a big plan, an ambitious plan for when they actually get into office to really blitz all of these institutions and, you know, put a lot of things in place, a lot of executive orders. I've heard at least 100 executive orders are ready to go right off the bat. And I think what you're going to see is, again, this idea of the system is overwhelmed. Already we're just seeing, just with the nominations, the system is being overwhelmed. And imagine what's going to happen right when he gets into power. The system is going to be even more overwhelmed. So if you start that process now, by the time he gets into office, the resistance is going to be less.